Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Colavita, will you take the roll, please?
Ms. Driver?
Present.
Ms. Grillo?
Present.
Mr. Herbert?
Here.
Ms. Linthorst?
Present.
Ms. Long?
Here.
Mr. Mason?
Present.
Ms. O'Reilly?
Here.
Mr. Sawicki?
Here.
Ms. Williams-Galliano?
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Hopewell Valley Regional Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof communicated to the Hopewell Valley News, the Times, and the Trentonian on January 6th, 2021. This meeting notice was also sent to Comcast Cable and Verizon Fios. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. The meeting is being videotaped for the purpose of board review, future reference, preparation of the minutes, and viewing on Comcast Channel 19, Verizon Fios Channel 32, and the school district website www.hvrsd.org. Members of the public who intend to participate in public comment, we ask that you sign in prior to speaking, whether it is through the Google form or if you do so in the chat bar, or I'm sorry, if you raise your hand, please let us know your name, address, and municipality. Would you please join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will get a quick business matter out of the way. I will request a motion that the board approve the minutes of our work session meeting of February 8th, 2021, as well as out for our regular and closed meetings on February 22nd, 2021.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? The motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Garrity, are you with us this evening? There you are. I see you.
Hello.
Good evening. Thanks for being with us. Do you have a report to share with us this evening?
I do, yes. Just a few things to let you guys in on what's been going on at the high school this past month. First and most exciting, I think, last week the cohorts were combined. So all students who opt to do hybrid learning are in the school 5 days a week. I really like it. I get to see a lot more people, and it brings back a lot of the normalcy to a regular school year, which haven't had in about a year. So it's very nice. The school is still taking social distancing guidelines very seriously. For example, if a class is too big to fit into one classroom, a group of students will have to sit in the cafeteria just to make sure we're all sitting 6 feet apart. And I've heard some teachers talking about having class outside once the weather gets warmer to have everyone together. Yeah, and all around I've heard very good things from staff and students about being in every day and seeing everyone and having a little bit more of a normal school year. Our community connection for this month is for Women's Space, which is a nonprofit organization that provides services to individuals and families who are victims of abuse. So the high school is collecting hand sanitizer and boxes of tissues all month so you can donate. Something else that's fun that's going on is Sources of Strength is a club that's hosting an activity where students place a plastic flamingo that has a QR code attached to it at the houses of people they consider to be a source of strength. And if a flamingo gets placed in your yard, you're encouraged to scan the QR code and post a photo of the flamingo on social media. And after that, you move the flamingo to the yard of someone who you find to be a source of strength. And it seems kind of silly, but it's a fun way to promote positivity and kindness throughout the community, especially in times like this where you can't really get to see everyone and do all the things you normally do. So it's just a nice way to keep spirits high. And lastly, we have lots of end of the year event planning has started for some clubs and stuff. We've started planning for junior and senior proms, the athletic awards banquet, the senior awards night, and graduation. We're optimistic that we can plan in-person events that still follow social distancing guidelines, but it's all still tentative, but very exciting, I think. And that's all for me. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Garrity. Any questions from the board members for Ms. Garrity?
No, thank you for the update.
Absolutely. And we're glad to hear that dose of normalcy is raising some spirits. It's a good thing to hear. So thanks for letting us know. We appreciate it. I will just make a very brief statement this evening. Two things that I wanted to mention. I wanted to reiterate that the board stands behind any and all advocacy efforts to ensure that district staff are able to get vaccinated as soon as possible. I know that there are a number of efforts afoot and that letters have been written by the County Superintendents Association, for which Dr. Smith currently serves as the president, and by the Mercer County Education Association under the leadership of the district's own Grace Rarich. And I know that, everyone is doing their best to get this done, reaching out to legislatures and so forth, to make sure that this happens as soon as possible. The board stands with you, and we hope that we'll be hearing very good news shortly on this front. We'll keep our fingers crossed and do whatever we can to help. I also wanted to thank our municipal officials for attending the session that we held last Monday prior to our work session. It was a fantastic turnout. The board welcomes efforts to share our budget with our fellow local elected officials and to collaborate on issues of importance to all citizens of the Hopewell Valley. So I hope that we'll have more collaboration with them in the months to come. With that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Smith without further ado so that we can recognize our Governor's Awards recipients.
Talk about great turnouts. We have a lot of participants who came here to celebrate the Teachers of the Year. This is one of the best meetings we have each spring, where we get to recognize those staff members who have distanced themselves a little bit from their staff members and being recognized for their efforts. One thing I would like to say is I think this year especially, all of our teachers, if we had our druthers, would be Teachers of the Year because they've really gone above and beyond. But these folks that you're going to meet tonight particularly have been noted by their colleagues, parents, and then sometimes students as to distancing themselves and setting themselves apart. So I'm going to turn it over to Tana Smith, our Director of Human Resources, who led the Teacher of the Year, Governor's Educator of the Year, Governor's Educator of the Year program for the district. So Tana, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Good evening, members of the board, President Lindhorst, and esteemed colleagues. As Dr. Smith said, tonight truly is one of the highlights for the year for the district and the Board of Education. Each year, the Governor's Educator of the Year program honors teachers and educational service professionals throughout the state whose contributions to their students are exceptional. Staff members were nominated by their peers, parents, and students. A committee from each of the 6 schools, consisting of an administrator, staff members, and a parent representative, use the following criteria to select their recipient: exceptional instructional techniques, superior ability to inspire students of all backgrounds and abilities to learn, respect and admiration of students, parents, and colleagues, and the ability to foster excellence in education as evidenced by ongoing contributions to the improvement of student achievement and the learning environment. At this time, each of the building principals will introduce their honorees. Now, in a typical year, we would be presenting each of our winners with flowers and a certificate, but due to our circumstances, we made sure that they were delivered earlier today to each of our winners. So to begin this evening, I'd like to introduce Chris Turnbull from Bear Tavern.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And thank you, members of the Board of Education, President Lindhorst, members of the central office for allowing us to speak tonight. And congratulations and thank you to all of the honorees tonight and every single one of the teachers who worked so hard to make our district a special place. It's your efforts are noted and so much appreciated. And I have the privilege tonight to talk about two individuals. And the first individual I'd like to talk about is a paraprofessional who was a recipient of the Educational Service Professional of the Year Award. Is that correct, Ms. Smith? Am I going in the right order?
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. That's okay. I wanted to warm the crowd up.
If you could just go with your teacher right now, we have a whole nother section.
Ms. Smith, that's wonderful. I wanted to warm the crowd up though and get the anticipation going. So I think we've successfully done that. I feel good about it. So as I was saying, I have the honor to go first to talk about the Governor's Educator of the Year from Bear Tavern, who is a really, really special member of our staff and our entire community. And I'm talking about Miss Betsy Finnegan. And Miss Finnegan was a member of the Bear Tavern community all the way back from 2003 when she entered as a parent, and then eventually became a teacher in 2009. But she didn't take the path directly to teaching. She went to Hood College and actually studied interior design and became not just an interior designer, but then would work in engineering firms, would work in schools to design things. And that led her into the classroom in the education field. And it could not have worked out better for our community, that decision, because Mrs. Finnegan was an integral part of not just most recently our outdoor learning area program, because thank goodness for her engineering and interior design background, she was able to actually plot out the beginnings of our outdoor learning area by hand. And when she came with an architectural drawing, it made it all real and it really did take off. But what makes Betsy really special is that she embodies everything that we want Bear Tavern to be. She's creative every single day and finds ways to connect with students in ways that you don't learn in textbooks or even in college classes. But she's also kind and inclusive, where every single child in her class feels a part of a tight-knit community, not just now, not just next year, but for years to come. And she's also persistent. And that's something that we want from all of our students in the district. And she simply does not know how to say or how to accept no as an answer, in a very positive way, of course. But, you know, when we hit a roadblock, when something doesn't work, Betsy will be there late at night, on weekends, in the summertime, finding ways to make it work. And she really does embody what we want our school to be and what I want for every one of our students. So thank you, Mrs. Finnegan. We appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the flowers. They're beautiful.
Go, Mom!
Thank you so much, Mr. Turnbull, and congratulations to Ms. Finnegan. Next, we'd like to bring up David Frederick from Hopewell Elementary School.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Dr. Smith, President Linthorst, and members of the Board of Education. First, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate each of the honorees within our school district. Each are very deserving of tonight's recognition and beyond proud of each and every one of them. I'm pleased to announce Mrs. Vicky Obst as the Hopewell Elementary School recipient of the 2020-2021 Governor's Educator of the Year Award. Mrs. Obst joined the HES family back in 2007. Since then, she's supported hundreds of students and faculty members. She's recognized as a passionate teacher who works diligently to educate children, making learning hands-on, and she's also one to transform lives. During this pandemic, she's worked nonstop. We're humbled by her desire and ability to connect with the entire school population on a regular basis, not only to educate her kids, but to provide them with a daily reminder of how much she cares for each and every one of them. One of the nomination forms submitted by a colleague in support of Mrs. Obst stated, and I quote, "She is one of the unsung heroes of Hopewell Elementary School, and one that I believe is really deserving of the Hopewell Governor's Award this year. Mrs. Obst has always gone above and beyond her duties. Her students love her because she loves being with them. She challenges them and believes in them, and in turn, they, under her guidance, create projects that are beyond their years." Another staff member remarked, "Vicky goes above and beyond the call of duty. She helps with each of the end of the year slideshows. She helps with the whole school meetings and anything where technology is involved. And she never ever complains or says that she's too busy. I think that every teacher has gone to Vicki for help, and I'll add this principal as well on a regular basis, and always felt relieved after talking to her. So I know that you'll join me in congratulating someone who's very deserving of this recognition, Mrs. Vicki Opt. Congratulations, Vicki. I'm very proud of you.
Yay!
Congratulations, Ms. Opp. Thank you so much, Mr. Frederick. Next up, we have Mr. Wilfing from Stony Brook Elementary School.
Well, thank you, Ms. Smith. Dr. Smith and Ms. Linthorst, thank you for having us here this evening. Congratulations to all the recipients for this year. What a wonderful staff that we have at Stony Brook and across the district, and our students benefit from that each and every day. This evening, I'd like to recognize Stony Brook's 2020-21 Governor's Educator of the Year recipient, Mrs. Cara Levy. Mrs. Levy is a graduate of Riders School of Education and first joined our staff in 2004. Little fun fact, Cara's hiring was the first that I was part of as an administrator in Hopewell. Set the bar pretty high. She made a wonderful first impression with her students, her parents, and her colleagues through her creativity, organization, and professionalism. Cara did step away from the classroom to be home with her own children around 2008, but Mrs. Levy is such a wonderful teacher that I hired her twice. In 2013, everything lined up for us, and we had an opening, and Cara was ready to come back, and it was an exciting time for all of us. And in true Cara Levy form, she has continued to shine amongst the all-star staff ever since. Some quotes from the letters of recommendation for her. Mrs. Levy generously gives to her colleagues across the district, is an admirable contributor to our community. Beyond all this, she is virtuous. She demonstrates excessive humility and unmatched kindness. Cara sees the whole person in her students. She makes connections and forms strong bonds with them because she cares about each and every one of them as human beings and celebrates their individuality and the things that make them unique. And lastly, she comes to school each day with a huge smile, a positive outlook, and a go-get-'em attitude, even though this year has us all feeling a bit overwhelmed, sometimes scared, and even worried many minutes of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Cara Levy, Stony Brook's Educator of the Year 2021. Congratulations, Cara.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Levy. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilfing. Next up from Tollgate, we have Jane Ellen Lennon.
Hi, everyone, and President Linthorst, Dr. Smith, members of the Board of Education, and all of our Governor's Educator of the Year recipients. It is a wonderful honor. And this year, especially, as I look around at the recipients, you all have been shining stars and such a wonderful part of Hopewell Valley to really have come through such a year that had so many questions and challenges, and you really shone so bright. I also want to shout out to Miss Vicki Ops, who also works at Tollgate, and we couldn't be prouder of her as the Governor Educator of the Year at Hopewell Elementary, and certainly for all she does at Tollgate. I'm happy to announce that Ashton Sands is our Governor Educator of the Year. Ms. Sands came to Hopewell Valley in 2012 and began her career as a paraprofessional in our IPI classroom, which is working with some of our youngest special education students. She also was a kindergarten extension teacher. She has since fulfilled a wide variety of assignments, departments including in-class resource room, and special class placement. She also became the head high school cheerleading coach in 2017, and she is an exceptional model for inclusivity and positive approach to varsity cheerleading. So she works with some of our youngest learners and some of our oldest students here in Hopewell. The comments from parents and staff speak to Ashton's caring and nurturing manner, which is why she has been so successful this year as Tollgate's very first Peach teacher. When you walk into Ashton's room this year, you can immediately feel the warmth she and her paraprofessional feel for our Peaches. Ashton does a remarkable job integrating instructional standards with which Hopewell Valley is known for, as well as the true feeling of getting our kids into school and loving it. She has taken on tremendous feats. She recorded a back to school message with her kids, and it's that smile that we really can't see and those adorable faces yelling, "Happy fall, y'all." And if you were to see this little recording and having these 4 and 5-year-olds sit there and record it is truly remarkable. A parent shared this. Ashton has been the most exceptional teacher for our youngest children in the district in the middle of a pandemic. Though we can't see her smile, we know she is smiling every day, and our children feel that love and caring nature she exudes. I am regularly amazed at when my son comes home with every day after 2 short hours in school. He is a struggling learner at just 4 years old, but Miss Sands makes him feel like a superstar with every ounce of effort he puts into his work. Though every teacher deserves the award of the next superhero while they are teaching during a pandemic, the youngest children are so challenging to teach at this time in our history due to lack of understanding about why their lives have changed so drastically and why so many of the activities and interactions are no longer safe and have been changed. It is a true feat to keep masks on 3 and 4-year-olds for their time in school, and there is not an issue in that classroom. As I'm sure I can speak for others in reiterating what a dedicated, loyal, and compassionate member Tollgate is, Ashton is, and we are so lucky to have her at Tollgate. Congratulations, Ashton.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Ms. Sands. Thank you so much, Ms. Lennon. Next, we're going to turn our attention to the middle school with Nicole G. and Freddie.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Dr. Smith, President Linthorst, member of the board, thank you for giving us this opportunity to celebrate our Educators of the Year, especially during this very challenging year. I would just like to take a minute to congratulate and just thank our other teachers for the well-deserved honor. But it is now my privilege and honor to introduce Timberlane's Governor Educator of the Year. Math is often a difficult subject for students, but Tammy Pegram approaches instruction in a way that students not only learn the concepts, but develop confidence. As one student stated in her nomination, she is an excellent math teacher and a great person. She has taught us to always try our best and is always there to help us when we need it. She makes math fun. Mrs. Pegram came to Hopewell Valley in 2002 and has been a consistent presence in the 6th grade for many years. Beyond math instruction, she plays an integral role in helping our 6th grade students adjust to a new school. Her patient, kind, caring manner helps students instantly feel comfortable as they learn to navigate middle school. Outside of the classroom, Tammy has worked to create a wonderful student group, The Bond, for our students of color. Working closely with her colleagues, she has helped build a support group for our students to connect, learn, and grow. It's a treat to visit Tammy's classroom. It's a nurturing environment where all students are engaged in learning. It's a pleasure to watch your students develop independence and confidence. There's differentiation and creativity, but most importantly, a feeling of love and fun. As one nomination stated, there are excellent teachers, and then there are life-changing teachers. An excellent teacher bonds with students, covers material in an engaging way, and inspires students to do their best. But a life-changing teacher is all that, and then changes the course of a student's educational path by making an impact on that student for many years to come. And that's Mrs. Pegram. As one of her students simply stated, Mrs. Pegram deserves recognition because she is just the best. So it is my honor, it is my privilege to present to you, Mrs. Pegram. Congratulations, Tammy.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mrs. Pegram, and thank you, Ms. G. and Freddie. And last but not least, we have the high school with Ms. Riley.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to introduce the HVCHS Educator of the Year, Ms. Carolyn Mcgrath. Ms. McGrath is a talented visual arts educator who has had a positive impact on thousands of students during her time at Hopewell Valley Central High School. She encourages the individual development of her students by enabling them to relate art to the world around them and helps them to become better versions of themselves as artists, as students, and as global citizens. Ms. McGrath's passion for education extends beyond the classroom through her involvement in student activities, such as the Photography Club, the Reimagine Club, and Spectrum. She is described by her colleagues as having an open door and an open heart to whatever need may arise. Her ability to connect with a wide range of students is widely recognized. One nomination described her ability to inspire despite barriers in language, ability, behavior, and otherwise. Carolyn's commitment to her students, her colleagues, her department, and her school is obvious to anyone who's ever met her, and it is truly a pleasure to recognize Carolyn Mcgrath as the HVCHS Governor's Educator of the Year. Congratulations, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. McGrath, and thank you so much, Ms. Riley. So I know that Mr. Turnbull was very excited to jump ahead, but I wanted to make sure this evening we are also honoring 3 support staff professionals from Hopewell Valley for their hard work and dedication to the district. Eligible candidates included paraprofessionals, secretaries, custodians, maintenance workers, bus drivers, van attendants, campus safety officers, and the technology department. A committee consisting of myself, Tom Quinn, Director of Facilities, Paulette DiNardo, our Director of Pupil Services, and Heather Van Mater, our Director of Transportation, reviewed nominations and selected individuals based on the following criteria: a dedication to their job, they are inspiring, and they are making a difference in the lives of staff, parents, and students. So now, Mr. Turnbull, if you'd like to introduce your honoree, please.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. It is a great pleasure. First off, thank you everyone for being patient, but and waiting till this culminating moment. But again, I want to congratulate not just our teachers, but I think Ms. Smith hit it on the head of what an important role to have a successful school and a successful district. You have to have so many moving parts all working together. So this is a really special award, and I'm really proud that one of our Bear Tavern staff members is honored tonight. And I'm excited to be talking about Mrs. Melina Guarino, who is one of our autism paraprofessionals. And she is a paraprofessional in the autism program at Bear Tavern. And she's an incredibly hard worker who's not afraid to put her all into every task that she does. And she, to be the teachers in the class, the professionals across the district, they've had years of training. They go and they go for 4 years or more to learn the ins and outs. And Melina stepped right in, having little experience in the area, and said, I can do this, rolled up her sleeves and got to work. And not only has she been successful, but she has become a leader, not just in that classroom, but in our program. And she's become an absolutely indispensable part of that. She brings the best out of every child with whom she works, and she's creative, flexible, and an extremely dedicated member of our team. She's humble, reliable, and consistently works for the best interest of every single child in her class. She's a special person, an incredible paraprofessional, and one of the toughest and strongest people that I know. Her teacher, who is, again, a guru of teaching students with autism, said of Melina that Melina has worked successfully with some of our most difficult and challenging students in the district. She understands the importance of behavior modification, reinforcement, communication, play, academics, and socialization. Melina is always the first one in action when I need some assistance. She is truly my right-hand woman. And it's a really big honor to celebrate Melina tonight, so please help me to congratulate Melina Guarino.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Ms. Guarino, and thank you again, Mr. Turnbull. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Tom Quinn, who is our Director of Facilities.
Hello.
Two of my maintenance men were nominated for this award, Kenny Bialotta and Jason Bowers. They were nominated together, and it's quite fitting since they are always together, working together. About 2 years ago, Jason moved from the grounds department over to the maintenance department, and I teamed him up with Kenny so he could learn as much as he possibly could, because Kenny knows how to do just about anything. We call them brothers when we see them. Where's your brother to either one of them? Over the spring, we had, in our attempts to start to get ready for the fall and bringing everyone back, we had purchased a couple of plexiglass dividers that were quite expensive individually. And I took to them the idea of, can you guys make these? And they enthusiastically said, yeah, sure. So out of a sheet of 4x8 plexiglass, they were able to make 6 dividers and saving the district about $700 on those 6 dividers. All in all, they made 350 standard dividers to try and help us get the kids and the staff back into school. They then went around to each location, to the secretaries, to the principals, to the people in the front office, and made custom dividers, whatever they needed. Every place they went, they were extremely polite. I got nothing but calls saying how great the two were, how quickly they were able to fashion these different dividers. They made some that hung, they made some that were put together on angles on the desk. They are always polite. They always work together very well on a normal year, but this year they really just pulled to the top to show that, yes, we can do it. They worked on weekends so that by the time September rolled around, we had all these plexiglass dividers in place and could put a little bit of safety into bringing everyone back. So I honor and thank them extremely.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Bowers and Mr. Bialotta. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. And congratulations to all of our honorees this evening. We're so happy we were able to come together to celebrate you this evening. So thank you for being here and for all that you do for the district. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Smith.
All right, thank you very much and congratulations everyone. For those of you who are either on the panel or watching, we do have an exciting meeting for you this evening. We're going to do a brief update and then go into our budget discussion. So that's always a fun time if you want to hang out with us for the rest of the night. If you do not, I understand also. So feel free to jump off. Understood. But what I will do is give everyone a brief update of kind of where we are in our back to school planning. So folks understand where we are. A letter will be going out updating the community tomorrow, but I'll give you some highlights of kind of where we are right now in our planning. So give me 1 second while I share my screen.
Dr. Smith, I'm sorry to interrupt for a moment. Do you mind if I wanted to say a few words to the award recipients, if that's okay? I just wanted to, on behalf of the board, congratulate all of you again. I know that doing this by Zoom is a little more awkward. It's much nicer to have you all in here in person and be able to greet you and thank you for your efforts throughout the year and honor you. This is by far my favorite board meeting of the year because it's all smiles. You don't ever see that at a board meeting. It's all smiles at this one. And that's because the focus is upon all of you who make it happen in our district day in and day out. And beyond making it happen, it's just so heartwarming and inspirational to hear of all you do, to hear your stories and to hear the words that your superiors and your peers use to describe you, that you're exceptional, that your efforts are life-changing, you're innovative and creative, and just all that you put into it, the hard work and the dedication to your craft. It's just so admirable, and your kindness to our students and to your peers. And so, I wanted to say that while we can't celebrate you tonight in the way that we would like to, I think it's important to note that you are our honorees in this very challenging year, and that speaks volumes to me because in a year where the world has been turned upside down, people still thought enough of you and found your efforts to be memorable enough to honor you. And so I think that that says a lot, and it's well deserved. And despite the circumstances that we're living through, or maybe because of them, you are to be honored, and we appreciate all that you do. And our students are so fortunate to have you, and our staff, and for our facilities folks, you've really distinguished yourselves and gone above and beyond as well. And we thank you for your efforts. So thanks again from all of us on the board.
Congratulations to all the recipients. This was very uplifting. It's my favorite time of the year too. So anyway, congratulations, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. Smith, please go ahead.
No, thank you. All right, so continuing on hopefully the uplifting trend, I hopefully will give you some hope as we prepare for the rest of the school year. So I'm just calling this our spring check-in. Obviously, we'll be giving updates as we continually go through this. But so here's our road to return. I think everybody is aware through this, but I just wanted to give you some heads up. We're 5 days a week on our elementary level. We moved that right after winter break. We had some remote-only focus groups to understand some of the challenges that that group was facing. We have a rolling return for in-person students at the middle school. That will continue into April. Middle school now is about 70% of in-person students. So that's pretty exciting. Does present some challenges regarding social distancing and fitting everybody in. So they will remain on their cohort model. But as we move forward, we will look to move them towards full day, as I'll talk about in a second. As you heard, we collapsed our cohorts at the high school. I was at the high school last week, and I think it was very positive, and I think everybody felt that this was a welcome step to move forward. So we're going to continue on our progress. Last week, the elementary principals put out surveys to determine the final numbers so for the rest of the year, so we can continue with our planning. Those were due on Friday, and we are meeting tomorrow to kind of look at sectioning and see what we can do to make sure anybody who wants to come back can come back. Now, once we have that set, we have the middle school and high school set where we are. We'll start to begin looking at our special programs and piloting elementary grade level moves to full day. Targeting mid to late April for this. Don't hold me to an exact date, but we are working through some logistics to get us there. And then we will continue to roll that out as we move into May. I want to reiterate our goal is and continues to be moving to full day for all programs and all levels this school year. So we're in a good place. We have dedicated folks. We have principals are working through all the logistics. So we are on our way. As I mentioned, move to in-person full day on the elementary. There's a question though, in meeting with some of our full remote parents and students, there's concerns about a full remote day on a computer. What can we do to not only engage them more, but also have them reconnect with these schools? We know that there's important timelines in students' lives, particularly in Hopewell, the 5th grade moving up ceremony, the clap out. We want to make sure that all of our students experience that, and I'll talk about that in a second, but that's been a question that's been raised by some of our full remote parents is, when we go to full day, what does that mean? Does that mean my child now has to sit in front of a computer an extra hour for the day? So again, we're working through some of those parts. But then rolling out through the secondary, late April, early May to have our high school and middle school rolling out to full day. The middle school, as I mentioned, presents a challenge, continuing with our 6-foot social distancing. We hope to get some updated guidance from the state, but as it stands, it makes it difficult to have 5 days, full days at the middle school. The high school, we do have a strong cohort of students who we recognize are going to remain remote for the rest of the school year. So we can plan for that. There'll be additional surveys going out there. Summer programming, we are very concerned and encouraged in our efforts to support at-risk students, but also address learning loss. Dr. Therese is going to be at our April meeting. We'll be laying out her plan, K-12 plan, to support our students, not just at-risk students, but any students who would like enrichment, to make sure that they are ready, willing, and able for September. So that, as I mentioned, we'll lay out the details of summer programming, but know that that plan is being finalized as we speak. Also, our extended school year, which we run every year, but that's special education-based programming that will be extended this year. We're calling it kind of ESY Plus. That students will continue to move through, and more details will come of that. But that's kind of our goal, is to make sure that summer programming for parents, no matter what level, what area you're looking for support, that we're going to be able to provide that to you. Something else you should be aware of, we're coming up to spring break. On the agenda for this evening is the recommended change or the removal or abolishment, the technical term, of our 14-day mandatory travel policy. That's something that we've had in place, moving that in favor of the New Jersey guidelines for travel. I know that I've received questions from parents of why our policy supersedes that of the New Jersey guidelines. And I will say this, that we've really been successful, I think, in what we were doing and how we were doing it. However, I think as things change a little bit, and we anticipate some travel, although New Jersey is still discouraging all non-essential interstate travel, we recognize that this might occur over spring break, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, and there'll be an update going out tomorrow. But something that I have to give a shout out to the NJEA, we're partnering with them, that we are going to be providing no cost COVID testing prior to spring break and when folks return from spring break. That'll be all written out in a letter for folks, but that should help us as people return, help people feel more comfortable, staff, students, and parents of where they are. So that's the guidelines that we're moving towards. The other thing, our road to return and next steps, and you heard Sheila mention at the planning, our intent, our expectation, our goal is that we're moving forward with all end of the year activities and events. Just to give you a sampling, graduation, we're planning in-person graduation. Prom, we're planning for an in-person prom. It might look a little different. Ms. Pinelli might say dancing 6 feet apart, but that one was a joke, sorry. But that's something we really have to work through as we get through this. So we're talking about working with our Department of Health and how we can make sure students are the safest as possible. But the prom will go forward. Making sure the ninth grade transition day occurs. And our athletic dinner, our traditional athletic dinners, and some of our athletic banquets, making sure that they are done in a appropriate socially distanced manner, and in many cases, many of them taking place outside. Middle school, 8th grade moving up celebration and ceremonies. Ms. G and Freddie is working with her CTOs. They are moving forward. Again, these will all look a little different than past years. However, we are committed to all of them occurring. 6th grade transition day occurring. The elementary level, the 5th grade moving up in clap outs. We want those to happen for our students. And we got to have conversations about field days, what they look like, and how they occur in a socially distanced manner. So just know that we as a district are committed to making sure that all of these rites of passage occur. We're going to be working with our school physician and our Department of Health to do so safely and they might look a little different, but they will occur. So let me just go back to the 14-day policy as we move forward with this. Once the board looks at this and discusses it this evening, we're going to talk about what happens next in terms of spring break. One thing I think folks are aware of, and you just received additional updates this evening, that we have seen an uptick in cases in our immediate area. We have a number of students quarantining from exposure at the high school. So at this point, our Department of Health and our school physician are recommending that we move towards a remote week after spring break. And that will be paired with the COVID testing before and after, but it served us well in the past. And their recommendation at this point is to continue with that after spring break. So I am happy to, before we go on to the budget, any discussions or updates from the Board of Education regarding any of those items that we shared. Know that our principals, our supervisors, all of our administrators are working hard to make sure that we are planning for a safe return for everybody. I think we've done our last several transitions have been done smoothly. I think we're well thought out. We were worried about the move to 5 days a week on the elementary. I think that's played out well. Middle school's rolling reentry of students has played out well, and the combining of cohorts at the high school has played out well. So our next step is that goal of moving towards expanding the day and crossing the lunch bridge, which we will already have plans of working through, and we will get through that and making sure that students are in a good place as they move forward. So I think that's it. Just again, know that we are committed to making sure that every end of the year activity happens in a safe manner and possibly under the stars. So it will be nice.
Any questions from board members with regard to Dr. Smith's report?
No, looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks solid. I just one question about coming out of spring break. Is there going to be kind of a midweek to end of week kind of announcement to the public on the status or any concerns coming out of spring break? I know it's kind of one of those moments where we kind of hold our breath because
I thought I was the only one.
Nope.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so what I've done in the past is sent an update just saying we expect it. And I think we're all ready for that, but my hope is people have been pretty good in following everything. And I think the addition of COVID testing will help lessen that concern. That's our goal, at least.
Awesome.
If I could just make one editorial comment regarding the vaccines, if I may. President Linthorst, you mentioned that the school district was on the forefront of applying to be a fixed facility, which means that we would host a vaccine clinic for our staff. We also submitted early on to be a vaccine provider. We have 6 nurses on staff, a school physician, who works with us and supported this endeavor, both of which were denied at this point, and no reason really given. No district was approved, but the travesty here is that we are ready, willing, and able for vaccines to be distributed to our staff. And what is happening here is a veritable Hunger Games of vaccinations. And I don't think it's accurate to say that it is an availability of vaccines, because there's people getting vaccinated and they're driving, but the reallocation of vaccines to educators has to happen. It just has to happen. It has to happen for the safety of our staff. It has to happen for the safety of our students and for the safety of our families. But it is incredibly frustrating sitting in my seat as my colleagues around this community of Mercer, and none of us know what to do for our staff. We all want to. We want to help. We have parents, and I really want to shout out. We have parents getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to schedule our staff members to get vaccines. We have staff members who are driving to Betsy Finnegan sent me an email. Betsy Finnegan, before this evening, drove up to New Brunswick to get her vaccine. We had a staff member drive to Atlantic City on Saturday to get her vaccine. This is really, really a travesty what is happening, particularly because I want to give the vaccine to our staff. There's no, we have freezers. One thing schools do very well is move people. And we can do this. We have a plan. We've submitted our plan, and it's really frustrating for it not to happen. And I'm just venting to anybody who is out there. I've written my letter to the governor. I have an op-ed that's going in also, but if anybody has any sway, our educators need it, and there's no plan. There's just no plan. It is March 15th. Educators are now available. It was available to educators, and I have received no phone calls, no emails, no information about how to get my teachers, staff members, custodians vaccinated. And it's really unfortunate. So I'm sorry, you mentioned the V word, Ms. Lindforth. It just triggered something. I've shared my letter that I've written previously to the governor. I have another one in the works, and it's just for all of us should really be talking to anybody we can possibly talk to make this happen for our staff. Because it's not just a Hopewell thing. Every district is struggling right now to who do we contact? How do we get the vaccine? And it's just an appeal. But what is happening is deals are being cut. Things are being happened. Somebody has a friend who works for X hospital, and they got the vaccine through this on a Saturday, and it's not the way it's supposed to happen. And that's unfortunate. So I will stop talking now. But again, anybody who's out there, please support us, support our staff members.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. I just want to say thank you for your diligence on this and for your caring. It really means a lot. I mean, to me personally as a teacher, and just knowing that you're looking out for not just Hopewell teachers, but all teachers and staff, all staff, because it really is a mess. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I mean, I haven't gotten vaccinated either. So it's like, we had a dream of, I would be the last one in the district to get it as the educators. And it's sad. It's very sad.
Indeed. Any other questions for Dr. Smith? Okay, seeing none, I think we're heading on into the budget discussion.
All righty. Are people starting to sign off now? The numbers are going. This is the good part. The numbers are going down. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen once again. And if you could just humor me, the first part of the budget, I know we want to get to the numbers and have the discussion, but I also just want to remember and remind everybody why we are here. We're here for the students who we support, the 3,466 students. So I promise I will run through it, but hopefully there's some new folks outside who haven't seen it, but I will give you the Cliff Notes version of where we are. Give me 1 second. All right. Oops. All right, do we see that now? Oh, okay. All right, so our tentative budget tonight is the tentative budget adoption is March 15th. Assuming the board can come to agreement this evening, we will submit, or we must submit actually, to the county superintendent of schools tomorrow, our tentative budget. We will have discussions through out the month and into next month. Our final budget is due at the end of April. again, if I could just take a second and remind us all what we do and why we're here, our mission statement. I won't read it to you, but just remember this, what we live and breathe, and try to make the world of Hopewell a better place for our students. There are quick facts you've seen before. Something, again, I want to underscore. I've worked in one of the largest districts in the county. I know other folks who work in other folks and other places. There are elementary schools with 900, 1,000 students. Our elementary schools do not have that. We have the privilege of having incredibly small schools where the principals know every child, know families, know siblings. Birthdays are celebrated and made special. It's something really unique that happens here. And I ask us all to recognize that. Small class sizes also, in terms of our programs, our student supports, all of those things are what make Hopewell a unique place. Again, maybe for those of you who don't know, in the upper left-hand corner, you see a picture of our auto shop. I would put us up against any other high-performing school districts in the state of New Jersey and ask you to see if they have a working auto shop as we do. It's our commitment to the whole child. It's our commitment to providing student support, whatever path they choose. Something we're incredibly proud of. We have athletes, scholarship athletes. We have students going on to some of the top universities in the world, and we have therapy dogs. So really things that make Hopewell unique, and our commitment to the community. Again, through the support of the board and our community, we have held forums on equity, LGBTQ issues, started up the mobile pantry for this community, and hosted vaccine clinics. You've seen this before, but know that we are continuing to increase in our ratings. Although the rankings aren't what we live and breathe by, it's important to recognize that we are committed to the whole child. And it's just as important as getting a student into a top school is supporting our kindergarten and first graders with their social emotional development. As I mentioned, our budget calendar. This is you will hear this evening is a public meeting. There will be an opportunity for discussion about the budget, not only on the board, but from the community. And then we will do this all over again in April, but we'll have lots of conversations in between. So budget highlights something, again, that I want you to recognize. All existing programs and services are maintained. You know, we've been doing systemic reductions over the past 10 years. Healthcare, our second biggest driver at $16 million, it's been contained at 0% for the second year in a row. I don't know of anybody who's been able to do that. And it's because the board made the wise choice to move towards self-insurance, and it's really played out well for us. Something else I want, no matter what occurs this evening, the budget that we are recommending to the Board of Education has a 0% tax levy, a tax levy increase, 0%. And it's coming in under cap. So no matter what happens, the budget, the tax levy increase from the request from the Board of Education, from the school district, is 0%. That does not change. And that is something I'd like to underscore again is, I think we went back at least 25 years, the written records that we could find, and it's never occurred before. So I want to give a huge shout out to Mr. Calavita for his work through that, and just recognize the stars have aligned this year for us to bring in a 0%. Here's how we pay for our budget. And we recognize this, and I strike that 0% with a certain amount of pride, because 80% of our budget comes from local tax sources. An additional part comes from our fund balance, that's money's left over and applied to the following year. Income, our staff members who bring their children to our school do pay tuition and interest on our monies. For state sources, state aid, or state choice aid, we are the only district in Mercer County to participate in the school choice program. We did that several years ago as we were seeing a reduction in enrollment. With that, not only do we provide a more enriching environment for our schools and opportunities for those students joining us, we do receive some additional funding from the state for that. Here's how our budget, it's not a secret, how our budget is made up. 75% of our budget is salaries and benefits. We are human resources. We build kids. We have excellent staff member, experienced folks who do that for us. 13% of our budget, operations, transportation, technology. 10% includes our debt service and direct service, our capital work, co-curricular activities, about 2% in our student support programs. As I mentioned, enrollment, here is what it's looked like over the years. We have made staffing adjustments to connect with that enrollment. This is something that we saw coming, and we had a future planning committee a number of years ago. I will say that our enrollment has not decreased to the rate that the demographer said it was going to. He said we would be down about 3,100 students back in 2018-90, so we're above that. So I like to think of it as people are staying, people are moving in. All right. Something, again, this is a wonky year, but we tend to look at our first grade enrollment more than our kindergarten enrollment, because a lot of folks will continue to stay in their preschool for kindergarten and then roll their child into first grade. We see about a 10% blip or increase through that. This year is low. I imagine there's a lot of reasons COVID related for that. So next year will be a better indicator. Again, what have we done to control costs, health benefits, special education, the NARDO plan, bringing students back from out of district into what I would argue is a stronger program in a least restrictive environment. Something you may not know, because I think we've done a good job at this. We've reduced staff, we've reduced the sections on our elementary level by 21% over the past 10 years. We've reduced 3 teams at TMS. Again, we've been able to do that through attrition as people retire, but it's not to say that we have not done it. Administration also. So, you know, our enrollment has decreased by 15% on the elementary overall. On the elementary level, we reduced our class sections by 21%. Our administrative staff has been reduced by 18% over the last years. As I mentioned, we participating in the school choice program. Technology, it might not seem like a big deal, but moving from to one single platform to Apple computers, Google environments, all of that has saved money, particularly in storage and moving towards virtual storage. And this year we've recognized the savings. Transportation is way down. We're not running athletic competitions, field trips, those kind of things. Energy consumption is way down. Our buildings aren't being rented out until 10, 11 p.m. at night. As I mentioned, the inter-district school choice, we have 22 students participating, and we received $302,000 towards that. That's another way that we've recognized that our enrollment was decreasing, and we are giving other students opportunities. As we go in there, I'm just about to transition over to Mr. Calabita. Budget uncertainties, Dr. Treese is going to share our summer programming. This is a real thing. It's conversations that are occurring and conversations that we're having about learning loss. I would argue that our students are better prepared. However, it's a reality. What's going to happen with our class size reduction in September? Will the state continue to recommend the 6-foot distancing? Will remote instruction be required for next year? Will large scale events return? Will we need to continue? We have tents. We're going to have tents this spring. Will we need them into the fall? What will athletic and extracurricular transportation, what will that look like as we go through not only the end of this year and into next year? And energy consumption will increase. We know that as afternoon and building usage plans. And start times. We had a conversation, although the updated report is not completed at this point. However, we have to make that, and we'll have a discussion first at finance and facilities, and I think also in ed program, about options of what we can do to move forward through our start time. But that discussion continues. So with that, I turn this over to Mr. Calabita, who will take us through the dollars and cents of our budget. Mr. Calabita.
Thanks, Tom. So this first slide just kind of gives the view from above where our budget is. Our budget is divided into 3 separate funds. The general fund, which is your basic operating expenses, your special revenue fund, which are state, federal, and local grants, consists of our Title I funds and our No Child Left, or IDEA funds for special education. It also includes all local grants that we may get from the Hopewell Valley Ed Foundation or other similar groups. So it's dollar in, dollar out. It doesn't affect the tax levy. Our debt service fund is monies, obviously, it's similar to your mortgage. These are referenda that have been passed over the years. This is our mortgage payment. Total appropriations now totaling around $95 million. We have 3 basic sources of revenue: local sources, state sources, and federal sources. Our local sources, Tom briefly spoke about earlier, they include the local tax levy. They include any income, miscellaneous income that we can generate in the forms of tuitions, interest earned, facility rentals, those types of things. State sources are our state aid in both our general fund, and we also get state aid from our debt service that we apply to the state for. And our federal sources, again, include those Title I and IDEA grants that we get to offset those programs. So again, it's about a $95 million spending budget. Tom, you can move on. Again, breakdown of our revenues again in a little bit more detail. Here in this slide, we just broke out our local piece to show that our local piece is broken up with fund balance, tax levy, the capital reserve, and miscellaneous revenue, and the state aids remain the same. We can move ahead. Again, breaking down the expenditures this time into some more detailed categories. Regular instruction involves all of the activities that go at all of our schools, our co-curricular and athletic events, anything and everything that goes on in the regular instructional program at our schools. Special education, again, is those specific programs to special education, the evaluation of students, out-of-district placements, and all the programs that we run in-house. Benefits, they include all of our pension contributions for non-certificated staff, our health benefits, our tuition reimbursement for staff members, workers' compensation insurance, and those things are all considered benefits. And as Tom mentioned, through some very aggressive planning and buy-in from the board, we've been able to contain these costs through our self-insured health benefits program that we're very proud of at this point. I guess Tom is stuck in the middle. There, okay.
You going back?
Now we'll just talk a little bit more. The central office is the basic operations of the central office, mostly administrative functions of the human resources department, human resources, business office, and superintendent's office. Transportation, obviously, is mostly state mandated. Transportation of what we have to do for students, but it also includes field trips when we're taking them, and athletic and co-curricular events. But again, most of that is state mandated transportation costs. Operation and maintenance encompasses everything from the routine and required maintenance of all of our facilities, the custodial work that goes into the cleaning and maintenance of the buildings each night, our campus safety officers, and the operations of our grounds department that takes care of all of our exterior grounds, lawn mowing, field setup, those kinds of things. Capital outlay is what we handle as far as our projects and equipment valued at greater than $2,000. There's a footnote on here because it is higher than it should be because the state requires that we show the deposit of the into the capital reserve for the transfer of debt service that we'll talk about a slide from now. And again, our debt service, which is our mortgage payment. And you see again that $95 million budget. Tom can move on. This goes back to enumerate what Tom was talking about, that bottom line there of a 0% increase to our tax levy. Our tax levy is made up of a general fund, which is the number that we discuss each year. that we are able to raise up to 2% each year. This year we're settling in due to the board recommending that we go to a 1.75% increase, which is again below the 2% cap. The debt service, as we spoke, is our mortgage payment. Out of that $5.7 debt service payment, the board actually has to raise only $3.6 million of that due to some debt service relief we received from the state as part of our referendum. And the surplus we're able to apply to this debt due to the savings Dr. Smith mentioned a few slides back that we were able to receive in a COVID environment. Transportation expenses are much lower. Special education expenses were not what we thought they would be. And our energy consumption due to not occupying buildings have all allowed us to apply some of that surplus to paying down our tax levy this year. But again, an $82 million tax levy is no increase from last year. Tom, go ahead. Just referencing some of the surplus we did use this year, those savings that we were able to apply from this year's budget. Approximately $2 million applied to the general fund to help pay down that levy, and the debt service amount that we've applied, $1.6 million, for a total application of about $3.5 million of surplus to the budget to keep taxes down in the valley this year. Moving on. What everybody wants to see is how is it going to affect me personally. We are seeing based upon this zero tax levy, a 2-cent increase in Hopewell Borough, a 4-cent increase in Hopewell Township, and a 0-cent increase to Pennington Borough. And what that yields is a new tax rate of $1.74 in the borough, $1.78 in the township, Hopewell, and Pennington Borough with $1.62. And for the average homeowner in each of those municipalities, ranging between $410,000 and $450,000, give or take. The average homeowner in each municipality, $85 in the borough for the year, $198 in Hopewell Township, and Pennington Borough would actually receive a -$8 increase for the average homeowner. We know in these difficult times that any increase is difficult. There are conditions that are outside our control, which we'll speak to in a slide from now. But again, those are the tax rates that we're going to be applying next year. Tom, you can go to the next slide. These are conditions that cause one of the things that we don't control, the ratables, and how the values of the properties in each of the municipalities have changed over the past year. Hopewell Borough saw an $88,000 increase in their values. Hopewell Township saw a $108 million loss, almost $109 million loss in ratables. And Pennington Borough saw a $5 million gain in their ratables. Coupled with the next slide, the ratables in Hopewell Borough have caused their share to actually go up. Last year they paid 6.61% of the pie. That's what this percent share means. How much of the pie does each municipality take? To a 6.83. Hopewell Township, because of the drop in their ratables, saw their ratables drop. Less of the pie for Hopewell Township, and Pennington Borough, with their ratable increase, they see a bigger piece of the pie going for that. Now you would ask the question, and it's been asked, why did Hopewell Township see the largest cent increase? And it's due to the fact that while they did see less of the share, that the ratables dropped so much that the drop in percent share can't pick up the difference. So that tax rate is a combination of the percent share and the ratables, and it's a formula derived by the Mercer County Tax Assessor that derives how much of the pie that each municipality takes. Tom, you can move on. This has been a topic of conversation this past late winter and into the spring. Why do you use surplus to balance a budget? There are pros and cons to it, and we need to maintain a balance in how we use surplus. By using surplus, it helps you maintain all of your current programs and staffing. You can help mitigate the increase to the budget, and monies can go back to the taxpayer in the form of a lower tax levy. The difficulty when applying too much surplus, you're always going to be applying some surplus each year, but to do too much, is you need to be able to make up that difference each year. If you put too much surplus into the budget, you must be able to generate that same amount of surplus or have available cap space to increase your budget if you need to increase it. And there's the difficulty repeating it. Non-referendum projects, a lot of the times when we use surplus, it is, if we don't use it towards the general fund budget, it can go towards our capital reserve to help us offset the cost of projects that normally would have to be done through a referendum. This allows us to do it without that at no additional cost to the taxpayer because that money has already been set aside. Okay, and again, using too much surplus, as we found in the past, and we've been told by bond rating companies, is if you don't have enough surplus, it can affect your bond rating if you were going out for a referendum, but we don't appear, hopefully not have to do that in the foreseeable future. Move on, Tom. And we've been talking a lot about the capital reserve over the past several weeks. Our balance, we predict at the end of this fiscal year would be somewhere in the area of $6.4 million. There may be a deposit that will be discussed with the board in June and finalized actually next November. So we've kind of left that both as a to be determined on how we're going to use it. Meaning carrying forward, we would have about $6.4 million when we start next year, and we have $2.1 million worth of projects planned, which would yield us with $4.2 million if no additional deposits were made. But the capital reserve is the main way that we can attack mid-sized projects without going to a referendum. Moving on. Again, just a guiding tool. You've all seen this before, but a guiding tool that we're using or have been using to maintain different surpluses or different accounts in our district. We try to keep surplus usage to $2.5 million a year in our general fund and debt service fund. This year we're a little higher due to the savings we've achieved from COVID. We've been talking about the health benefits. There's a IBNR account, which stands for incurred but not reported. This account helps us. It's an actuarial number that we're required to maintain because we are self-insured in case something were to go wrong and we started to run poorly. We have this fund to cover cases that wouldn't have to be picked up by the tax levy. Capital reserve, the board several years ago was trying to target an annual deposit of $2.5 million. That's not a guarantee. That is a guiding principle that we'd like to do. Our capital reserve suggested minimum balance is $2 million. We would hesitate to drop our cap reserve below that to help account for anything that would be unforeseen. Capital reserve, we have a plan, a very detailed long-term, long-range facility plan that we look at, and we plan with the full board at the end and the Finance Facilities Committee to start. But those projects are planned and thought of. If something were to happen that were outside the scope of what we're looking at right now, that $2 million base would help us offset that cost. And the arrow going from capital reserve to excess surplus, if we were to find that we had more than $2.5 million to deposit and we chose to make that deposit, anything greater than that the board thought would be given back to the taxpayer as an appropriation to the budget to help offset taxes. Okay, I think that brings us to the end, Dr. Smith. And at this point, Tom and I will take questions from the board first, and then we will open it up for a special open session for the public to ask any budget questions that they might have.
Thank you, Mr. Calavita, and thank you, Dr. Smith, for that presentation. We appreciate all the time and effort that has gone into this budget process from your perspective. And before I open it up to questions, I just wanted to share a few thoughts of my own moving into the discussion. After much deliberation and work, I think that this board has landed in a pretty good place. One in which we were able to reach compromise with regard to the preliminary budget. The road to getting here, however, was a little bumpier than I might have liked, particularly over the course of the past week. Both the Finance Committee and the full board, working with our administrators, have made great strides, I believe, to ensure that this process is as transparent and productive as possible, both within the board and without. However, I think that some of the issues that we ran into this past week have proven that there are improvements which may be made to this process. And I think that we all bear responsibility for working on this to make things go more smoothly with each year. When I say more smoothly, that does not mean that we will all necessarily agree at all times, not at all, not by a long shot. In fact, I expect that we will always have philosophical differences and differences of opinion. There's always going to be different difficult decisions to make. And that back and forth, when it happens in the way it should and happens in a respectful manner, is the sign of a healthy board, and a board that accurately represents both the students of the district and the citizens of the Valley. So I do think that there are other steps that we can put into place so that members feel fully included and engaged in the process from start to finish. I think it starts with better communication, first and foremost, among board members to make sure that we're all engaged. I personally vowed to do my best as president of this group to communicate effectively and to set the stage for more effective discussions. We may find that we need to make changes along the way and have a shift in business as usual. And I think that, you know, some of the changes we put in to date have been very effective. In the future, I think I'd like to have us seriously consider a shift to full board participation in all finance committee sessions during budget season. And we can discuss all of these steps, you know, at a more appropriate time. For 2 years now, I think one of the effective things that we have put into place is the session that we now hold for our municipal officials, as happened last Monday. As I stated, I was really pleased to see the turnout at that session and the participation. However, given that we had some last minute developments and that the full board didn't have time to discuss these matters prior, if I'm being honest, the discussion at the 6 o'clock session was more involved than I would have liked, and extended beyond the informational session that I had anticipated. This presented us with a unique situation, one in which non-board members were weighing in on the board's budget before the board had had a chance to do so. And I think this was unfortunate. And I know that a number of board members are disappointed in the way that that played out. But ultimately, I think it's important to note that regardless of the timing, regardless of the circumstances, this is the board's budget, no one else's. And we will go about this process in an open and transparent manner, as we always have. We will earnestly listen to feedback, but we together as board members will ultimately chart the path forward and determine which scenarios to consider, and to strike a budget that will do the best to support student achievement and wellness in a manner which is fiscally responsible and takes into consideration all of the current trends and circumstances. And so I thank my fellow board members for their participation in this process, and I look forward to working with you up until the final approval in April. So with that, I would open it up to questions and comments from my fellow board members.
Yeah, I'm going to start first. So you brought up communication and transparency. And so my question is, when was it decided that we were going to vote on the 1.75, and why weren't we all notified of that?
The 1.75 was determined, to the best of my knowledge, immediately after the meeting on Thursday. We had two other members who were not present who weighed in, and they both had opted for the 1.75.
I don't agree with, I do not think that was the case. I don't think people who had a chance to weigh in were sure what they were going to do. So I think it was a little bit later, and I understand, that we're pressed for time and Bob has to get a resolution together and everything. But, we left it off that we were going to touch base with the people who weren't at the meeting and other people could think about it. We took a straw poll, and now we're at 1.75 on the agenda. And I just feel like we keep saying we need to do better for communication. We need to do better with transparency. We need to do better. But all along this budget process, not all along, but in the 11th hour, just like it happened last time, things get messy because, people are throwing things out at the last minute that we need to look at and change after careful consideration has already happened. So I'm just disappointed that we're voting on a 1.75. I'll just throw that out there. I wanted the 1.9, so how I'm going to vote tonight. But I just wish I knew a little bit sooner going into this meeting what we were voting on.
Thank you, Ms. O'Reilly. I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments from board members?
Deb, this is Anita. I would like to comment. As a new member of the board, this is all a process. I have an operations background and a communication background. So I've expressed to Deb personally kind of some frustration with the information flowing in. And I know that some of the folks that are on the committee, the finance committee, had a little bit more of an opportunity to think through the two options. I will say the 1.75, I like that it was raised, honestly, given where we were at in the moment, and that we produced a potential compromise. However, Deb O'Reilly's point about it being at the last minute was absolutely something in the future that we need to look at in terms of the timing of the budget. The timing of which we bring in the township committee, certainly. And also, as a new member, what I would want to see is that we are doing the hard work to look at our programming. I mean, the education committee is working incredibly hard to look at all the different programs that we would like to put in place for our students. We are looking at the facilities issues. We are looking at a potential likely upside to our healthcare, given that we've been flat for 2 years. And we have these unknowns in the realm of COVID and bringing our students back, both in a well-being perspective and in an academically, prudent manner. I'll say that. Or a positive, bringing them back in a positive place. And so those are a lot of moving parts in any budget process. And so when we are looking at 1.75, 1.9, 1.5, we really don't have time to do the hard work as a board to look at what we're giving up, right? What are we potentially willing to give up if something unexpected happens? I won't say catastrophic because I think, but unexpected. And so I stand for being fiscally responsible. I also stand for delivering value back to our families. And those two things can happen in the same budget, but it requires communication, it requires partnership, it requires trust, and it requires hard work. Bob does this, he knows it cold, and he educates us every day in what's in it. But we as a board need to be able to look at that and make the hard choices. I don't feel like hard choices could be made. And so when you don't have time for that, you're going to err on the high side. So I think it's unfair to be upset or disappointed that people are choosing to go to the high side because time wasn't taken to do the hard work to align on the fine detail so that the whole board could be aligned. So again, as a new member, having done budgets before, that's what I'm most disappointed about, is that it's not so much that I'm new, but I wasn't given the chance to look at the balance between what I would recommend is a balance between risk and a value to our community in a time that we don't have a lot of knowns. And if we don't have a lot of knowns when we've done the work, we can feel confident that we did the best we could. So I think we can do better. And I need to trust my board member peers that they're committed to the same thing.
Thank you, Ms. Williams-Galliano. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, this is Andrea. I'd like to say a few things. There is a process by which budgets and policies are created and passed. There's a precedent that has been set that has established protocols. And there are 9 members of this board for several reasons. No one member has the power without the others. No one member can speak for the whole. And no one member can take credit for the successes or failures of this group. As individuals of the Board of Education, we are held to a higher standard, a code of ethics, and a level of morality. It is apparent that we need reminding of the expectations and duty we have to the community, to each other, to the school district, and most importantly, to the students. The series of events that have taken place over the past 2 weeks, which led this board to this very point tonight, is unacceptable. We as a board of 9 members have to be mindful and respectful of each other. We need to accept that we need each other's point of view, opinions, knowledge, criticisms, thoughts, ideas, and expertise to advance the district and continue on its path to excellence. We need to remember there is a power in numbers, and working together is more productive than working as one. We need to acknowledge the need to follow the rules and remain disciplined. We must rise above the chatter, the noise, and the influence from the outside forces that try to obstruct our view and muddy the waters. We must surpass the level of excellence we hope to instill in the students. We are all here to serve. Now, although I understand the need to come to a compromise last Thursday and be able to meet in the middle, I don't think that that was the proper time in order for that to happen. We brought yet a third option to the table 15 minutes before the meeting was adjourned. It brought us right back to the place we were in when we left on Monday night. That is not a place we wanted to be then, nor was it a place we should have wanted to be on Thursday. I think we need to remember that we are all here for the students and that we need to work together. I don't like that we felt on Thursday night that we left members uninformed and that there were still members not there. I think that we are in no better position today than we were in last week. And for that, it makes me sad. And it makes me disappointed in myself and us as a group.
Thank you, Ms. Driver. Any other questions from board members or comments? Okay, seeing none, I will thank everyone for participating, and we will move into public comment, specifically on the budget. Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. When using a virtual format such as Zoom for a meeting, individuals who would like to make a comment are asked to use the hand raise notification function to alert the board president of your intent to speak. The board secretary will activate your ability to speak through the hand raise function, and you are asked to state your name, by unmuting you, and you will be asked to state your name, address, and municipality. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or may direct the superintendent to do so. The board may opt to take the matter up at a future meeting so that the matter is researched by district administration. You may also use the Google form that is located within the agenda to make written comment. Written comments will be read for up to 3 minutes, and only 1 written comment per public comment session, please. Public comment is now open. Do we have any Google forms? I see that
There's a hand.
Yes, Ms. Pilara has raised her hand.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Is that all
We
right?
can.
Hi, Thank you for including public comment on this. And I just had a question. I haven't had the opportunity to look at the underlying supporting details of the budget, but it seemed like Dr. Smith was saying no programs were being cut. Like everything that we're doing this year, we're doing next year. Is that right? I guess I'm just trying to understand. Yeah.
Before you answer, Dr. Smith, Ms. Pilar, could I just ask you to state your address and thank
Sure.
you.
Sorry. Susan Pilar, 20 Princeton Avenue, Hopewell Borough.
Thank you so much. Dr. Smith, would you like to answer the question?
Yes, it maintains all current programs and services.
Great.
Nothing's being cut.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pilara. Any other public comment? It's relatively quiet. I see no hands raised, no Google Forms. Okay. Public comment is now closed. We will move on and I will request a motion that the board adopt the following, the proposed 21-22 annual school budget.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We need to request
I need
a roll call. We need a roll call for this one.
Can I just clarify, Adam, that was your second?
Yes, it was, Bob.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Ms. Driver,
No.
Ms. Grillo,
Yes.
Mr. Herbert,
Yes.
Ms. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly,
No.
Mr. Sawicki,
Yes.
Ms. Williams Galliano,
Yes.
and Ms. Linthorst.
Yes.
And the motion passes. We've adopted a tentative budget.
Thank you, Mr. Colavito. Thank you, everyone. We will move on. And now we will open our second public comment session. Is that correct, Mr. Colavito?
That's correct.
Thank you. Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. When using Zoom, individuals who would like to make a comment are asked to use the hand raise notification function to alert the board president of your intent to speak. The board secretary will unmute you. You are asked to state your name, address, and municipality. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or may ask the superintendent to do so. The board may also opt to take the matter up at a future meeting so that the matter may be researched by district administration. You may also comment via the Google form. We will read your comments for a period of up to 3 minutes. Only one comment per only one written comment per public comment session, please. Public comment is now open. Any Google forms?
I don't see anything.
Okay, and I do not see any hands raised, and so public comment is now closed. Are there any items of old business to bring before the committee? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. I would like to request a motion to accept the items on consent.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Sawicki, would you please provide a report from the Finance Committee if you would like?
Yes, we had our meeting last Thursday. We discussed the budget, which we just voted on. The 6 items that are on the agenda tonight are all consent items. The one thing I'll point out, making note of, we've approved, but included in that was an item to do a lease purchase for 3 16-passenger vans and some additional trucks, basically helping us with our future transportation needs. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Sawicki? Okay, thank you. Personnel Committee. And Jess, would you like to provide a report, please, and move your items?
Sure. Do I need to make a motion first?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion to do something.
Do we, Bob, do we need to do item 1 first as a separate item?
Yes, we should.
So Jess, we could request a motion to accept the memorandum of agreement first.
Request a motion to accept the memorandum.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so do I explain the memorandum?
Yes,
then
you can
before I
provide discussion at this point. Thanks. That's okay.
Okay, so the memorandum that is included is the 1-year extension with the HVEA, and the extension, the increase is at a 3.078%. So the negotiations committee worked with Tana, who worked directly with the HVEA, and the HVEA approved it with support this week. So it is up for approval this evening. And the negotiations committee feels really good about the 3.078%. We think it is a fair number for our educators.
I would just like to thank the negotiations team of the board for all of their support and guidance as we moved through this process this year. It was, an unprecedented and extraordinary year, but I think it really was a good faith with the HVEA, and I appreciate all of your support. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe we need to go ahead and accept that motion first before we move on to the other items on the personnel report.
Correct. I'm going to do a roll call.
Okay.
Ms. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Herbert?
Yes.
Ms. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly?
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki?
Yes.
Ms. Williams-Galliano?
Yes.
Ms. Driver?
Yes.
Ms. Linthorst?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. So just a quick update. We had our personnel committee meeting this evening before this meeting, and we talked about a couple of things. We talked about the CJ Pride, so the Central Jersey Program for Recruitment of Diverse Educators. We are participating in a virtual fair this year on March 24th. There are over 500 registrants for the fair right now. We have 8 members of the administrative team that are going to be handling the virtual booth. So we're excited. We're going to have some openings this year. So we think we're going to get some really excellent talent. And then we also talked about, we have some personnel actions and some extracurricular appointments up for approval tonight. You'll notice the extracurricular appointments are all appointments for coaches at the middle and high school level as we're moving forward with spring sports.
Jess, you can have those moved at the same time. One motion can move both of them.
Okay, I request a motion to approve the personnel actions and extracurricular appointments.
And that'll be by roll call vote, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Herbert?
Yes.
Ms. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly?
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki?
Yes.
Ms. Williams-Galliano?
Yes.
Ms. Driver?
Yes.
Ms. Grillo?
Yes.
And Ms. Linthorst?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Grillo. We will move on to the Education Program Committee. Ms. Long.
Hi. So we had a very packed agenda today. We had 4 separate presentations. So I'll kind of tell you what they are and just give you a brief summary. And I'll remind everyone that all the presentations are on board docs if you'd like to see or learn more about them. I forgot to put that in the report out form. So we had Principal Riley talking about service learning at the high school, and she's proposing a service learning pathway, sort of like the STEM pathway, which would be a 3-year program.
Oh, I think we've lost sound, Ms. Long. Maybe you want to try turning off your screen? Can she hear me?
I'm going to turn off. Hold on. Can you hear me now that I turned it off?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Then we had Maureen Sigler, who is, I guess, a consultant for us with the blended learning and does our professional development, along with a teacher, Michelle Lageman, who discussed the blended and personalized. They've added personalized to it learning. That seems to be working very well, and the teachers really seem to like this method. The teacher there said the benefits that she really felt was the shared collaboration time, and that she felt when we moved into hybrid a year ago that our teachers were really prepared for this because of their blended learning. They kind of structure it as a combination of embedded coaching as well as professional development. So 4 times a year of embedded coaching and 5 times a year of professional development. Next, we had Lois Baldwin, who was talking about culturally responsive teaching and ELL, which is the new ESL, English language learners, to immerse these kids socially and academically into the classroom so they're not always being pulled out. It's a big change from before she was here. And her 4 steps are program philosophy, placement, programming, and making connections. Again, I would recommend, if you're interested, looking at her presentation, because I can't do it justice, and it was very, very well done and very interesting. And lastly, we had a student, we always love having students, presenting on her sign language survey. She's active in the American Sign Language ASL Club, and she did a survey asking if American Sign Language should become a course offering. And generally it was very positive results, that people would like it, that it would benefit many of our students. And even students who said they may not want to take that as a course because they already like the language they're in, thought it should be an offering. So that pretty much wraps up EdCom, unless Rosetta, you think there's anything I forgot.
No, that was very comprehensive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jenny? Okay, thank you. We will move on to community relations, and Mr. Mason, please.
Yes, thank you. We went over a couple of things, community relations first. We went over the Hope Express insert that if you haven't read it yet, go check it out. We're very happy with how it came out. We're looking forward to moving forward. It was more informative, but like kind of an overview. We're looking to dive more into specific things and highlight more stuff in our district that usually doesn't get the normal recognition, because I think there's a lot there that it'll be great to show. We went over, Tom will be sending out a letter regarding the budget process and what people are going to be expecting probably sometime next week. Just review the goals when we're putting together the budget and what the next steps are, which would be good for everyone. School, we discussed the next steps in getting the students back to school, the reopening plan. Tom went over it earlier. Anything I say isn't going to do it justice. So Tom reviewed that with everyone tonight, which is good. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get students back in, get back to more normalcy. And we briefly reviewed the survey results from the students. We're looking forward to getting a presentation from EdCom and a full board presentation to go over the results from that and see how we can use that to help improve the district. We're always looking to improve. We're always looking to see where we stand and make it better. So I'll be excited to really dive into that a little bit more going forward. That's about it.
Any questions for Mr. Mason?
This is Anita. I have one. Just wanted to hear, I thought you said it, but I may have missed it. The next time we hope to have another insert, it's intended to be somewhat regular, correct, moving forward?
Right, I'm sorry. We're looking bi-monthly right now. So the next one would be looking May. We really can dive into the end of the year stuff. There's a lot we really can cover, but and then we're gonna play by ear. You know, if it turns into every month, if there's more to get out there, or you know, we're trying to stay kind of flexible with it. But I think that bi-monthly, right, good goal.
Awesome. I'm very excited to see. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited to have a regular connection with the community. So good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mason. We appreciate it. Moving on to policy, and Mr. Herbert, you've got a full agenda there tonight.
Yes, I do. So several actions, and actually on the first one, this policy, the abolish 2415.01 academic standards. I don't know that we went over that one. Does anyone else that's on the committee want to chime in? Because I don't have any notes on it anywhere.
I don't recall that we did.
No.
I'm not sure how that got on there. Let's pull that off.
Okay. All right. So the first action is that I would like to request a motion to abolish the two policies that are now remaining on the agenda, which is the highly qualified teacher and the quarantine for 14 days after leaving the state.
Second.
Okay, thank you. So the first one is the highly qualified teacher policy. This policy has basically been made obsolete by the Every Student Succeeds Act. So we are going to abolish this policy. And the second one, Tom mentioned earlier during his presentation, the quarantine for 14 days. It was approved during the height of the pandemic, but with ongoing changes in the guidelines, the desire is to abolish this policy also and follow the state guidelines. So with that, I will call for a roll call vote on the abolishment of those two policies.
Okay, Ms. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Mason.
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly.
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki.
Yes.
Ms. Williams-Galliano.
Yes.
Ms. Driver.
Yes.
Ms. Grillo.
Yes.
Mr. Herbert.
Yes.
And Ms. Linthorst.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So the second action that we need to take is a motion to suspend bylaw 0131 that requires two readings to adopt a bylaw or policy, and then adopt bylaw 0164.6 with one reading to be in compliance with the new emergency regulations regarding remote meetings held during a governor-declared emergency, which is NJAC 539-1.1 through 1.7, promulgated by the Department of Community Affairs. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. As the motion implies, basically this is a new bylaw that has been made mandatory on how to conduct meetings during a declared emergency. It basically gives information or guidelines on, or requirements, I should say, about how we need to provide for public comment, to create the meeting agenda, to accept public comments in advance, and how we can accept public comment during remote meetings via text messages as well. It also has, several other, a bunch of other information in there as to how to conduct these meetings, which we have been adapting to as we have gone on tonight. So I believe now we also need a roll call vote to suspend 0131 and approve 0164.6.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly,
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki,
Yes.
Ms. Williams Galliano,
Yes.
Ms. Driver,
Yes.
Ms. Grillo,
Yes.
Mr. Herbert,
Yes.
and Ms. Linthorst.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The next policy item is we have several items listed here, 5 items that require a first reading. So I would like to request a motion for approval of these policies for a first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so the first one is a revision to bylaw 0145, board member resignation and removal. And basically this one was changed to clarify that in regards to removing a board member for missing 3 consecutive meetings, missed meetings are not limited to regular meetings. Then we have policy 2415.02, Title I fiscal responsibilities. The revision added a section requiring that these federal funds supplement state and local funds and not supplant those state and local funds. The third one is policy 2415.05, the student surveys, analysis, and/or evaluations. Very minor updates to this policy, which addresses parent consent for student participation in surveys. And then finally, the Every Student Succeeds Act complaints, both policy and regulation, which addresses changes to complaint procedures regarding violations of the Every Student Succeeds Act. And I will now call for a voice vote to approve those policies for first reading.
All those in favor?
Yeah, I guess I have to say that. All those in favor, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Can I say the motion carries, or do I have to wait for Bob to say?
You can say
No,
it.
you can say it.
Bill, your parliamentary procedures are very
It's
impressive.
spot on.
I went over with this with Bob earlier today.
Oh, that's what I should have done.
Practice makes perfect.
And he got to abolish things. Whoever gets to do that.
I know, I feel so special.
Yeah.
So the last act of the policy committee is a number of items for second reading. And I would like to, we've already talked about these at the last meeting, and I'd like to request a motion of these policies and regulations for a second reading and adoption, and followed by a roll call vote.
So moved.
Oh, so moved. Whoops. I got all nervous. Second.
Okay. Ms. O'Reilly,
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki,
Yes.
Ms. Williams Galliano,
Yes.
Ms. Driver,
Yes.
Ms. Grillo,
Yes.
Mr. Herbert,
Yes.
Ms. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
and Ms. Linthorst.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, everybody. That is all for the policy committee for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. You've succeeded in making a liar out of me because everyone's smiling again. I didn't think we'd see that tonight. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Calendars. Do we need anything else for March? I don't believe so. But we should look into April. And so let's start with the finance meeting. So our next, I don't know if our meeting is here. We have a work session on the 12th, and we have our regular meeting on the 26th. So that would mean finance. Are we doing the Thursdays now? I've lost track.
Adam will-
That would be fine. Could we do the Thursday before the work session?
On the 8th?
Wait, we're in
Yeah.
April? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Does that work, April 8th?
Yeah.
Time, 5 o'clock, are we doing?
Yeah, that's good.
That's fine.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Personnel would occur on the 26th before the regular meeting at 6:15, correct?
Yep.
what was that date again, Deb?
The 26th of April.
26. That's
Six-
personnel, right?
Yes, 6:15. Education program, would we switch back to the afternoon of the 26th?
Yeah, 3 o'clock on the 26th, if we're
Yes,
gonna
please.
keep with that.
Okay. Community relations. What are we thinking on the timing for that one?
Normally we do it before the meeting, but should we do maybe like the week before because the next insert?
That's a good idea.
Sounds good. Yep.
Like which week are we talking? The week of the
Should we go
12th?
tax day? April 15th? It's a Thursday or do we want to do it before the work session? The 8th?
Yeah, maybe, do we want it a little earlier? Tom, how much lead time did we need for the express?
Usually need about 2 weeks. So if the earlier we could do it, the better.
Maybe the week of the 5th?
Yeah, which normally we do Thursday. Does the 8th work? That's what I was saying. At like 3:30, like we normally do, or?
So my COVID test is at 3:30 on that day. I mean, not my COVID test, my second dose.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Fully vaccinated.
Yeah, right. I'll be fully vaccinated. So who knows how I'll feel after that, right, Deb O'Reilly?
Plan
Nothing.
Plan nothing.
But would the Wednesday work, the 7th for anyone?
Yeah, it works for me.
Yes. And 3:30, is that when we usually do it?
Yeah.
Community meeting.
All right, very good. Policy.
We usually do the week before, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Like the week of the 19th, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I
Mhm.
don't know what nights we're already taken with other meetings, but
That whole week, I don't have
Yeah.
anything that whole week.
yeah.
There's no board meetings that week so far.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm free any night, so whatever works.
Tom, did you guys want to try to knock it off on the 12th, the night of the 12th? That's the night of the work session. Is that too much, Tom, in one night?
It's up to the committee. If we
Yeah.
want to do it before.
It's fine with me if people want to do that.
Sure,
Okay.
good suggestion.
5
o'clock?
o'clock? 6 o'clock?
Perfect.
I think it'd have to be 6, right? Because
Yeah, I
some
like
of the
it.
meetings are-
We could go 6 to 7 or 5 to 6 and have an hour break in between, but we tend to run long when we have that break, I think, as we learned before. So probably 6 to 7.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
All right, very good. I think that covers the calendar. I will request a motion to accept the March, or really just the April calendar at this point.
So moved. Motion done.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? The motion carries. Any items of new business to present to the board? Okay, with that, we will move to our third and final public comment session. Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. When using Zoom, Individuals who would like to make a comment are asked to use the hand raise function to alert us of your intent to speak. The board secretary will unmute you, and you are asked to state your name, address, and municipality for the record. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or may direct the superintendent to do so. The board may also opt to take the matter up at a future meeting so that the meeting may be researched by district administration. You may also avail yourself of the Google form that is included in the agenda for this evening's meeting. You are again asked to write your name, address, and municipality. Written comments will be read for up to 3 minutes. Only one written comment per public comment session. Public comment is now open. Any Google forms, gentlemen?
Nope.
Okay, public comment is now closed. I would like to request a motion to enter into executive session. A special education potential litigation situation will be discussed. No action will be taken. Motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? The motion carries. See you in the next.
Yeah.
And there's Adam. I'd like to request a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
So,
All in, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Aye.
Bye.
Bye.